Welcome back to another episode of EpicEarth. EpicEarth is a podcast for those curious about the STEM fields and the awesome, quirky, and fun experiences and research that is taking place right now. This is episode number 14. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. So sit back, relax, enjoy the ride as we take a journey around this epic Earth.
How are elements distributed in a planetary body?
What are our hopes? What are our dreams? What do we want to accomplish? And how do we accomplish it?
We can have all the science in the world, but if it's not translated, how is that helpful?
Welcome to another episode of EpicEarth. I'm Ashley Bosa, and with me I have my fabulous co-host, Brian Rosenblatt.
Hey there. Glad to be here.
And we're excited because we have another graduate student from BSU with us today, someone who's super awesome, and we're excited to learn about his research, Brent Wilder. Hi, Brent.
Hi, happy to be here. Thank you, Ashley and Brian. This is awesome. Big fan of the podcast.
We're so happy to have you. Brian and I love Brent because he's one of our solid listeners to the podcast. And so we are just so excited to have him on today, finally, to hear his story.
I'd even go as far to say he's our number one fan.
I think so.
Oh, wow. I'm honored. That's so cool.
I think we're the honored ones, Brent, honestly.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I just find it really, like we're talking about, I find it really fascinating to hear about everyone's experiences and their research. And I think you guys just do a fabulous job asking really great questions. So yeah, I think really happy to be here.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're going to use you for all of our PR from now on. So we're just going to record like a million commercials for us so that we can post them on our social media sites. So a little bit about Brent. He's a first-year PhD student here in the Department of Geosciences at Boise State, and he's being advised by Dr. Nancy Glenn. He's originally from Southern California, where he completed a bachelor's in civil engineering at Cal Poly Pomona and his master's at San Diego State. And Brent, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you got to BSU with Nancy?
Oh, yeah. So it was kind of an interesting story. So finishing up my master's degree at San Diego State, had a really positive experience, and I really wanted to continue research in terrestrial hydrology, really with an emphasis on changes to hydrology from wildfire and climate, which was we can kind of get into in the research interest, but I wanted to kind of stay within that realm. And so I was searching for PhD opportunities, and one of which was a posting in I think it was like the American Geophysical Union, like the newsletter or something, because I was reading literally everything to try and find a position. You know how it is, just searching. And then I saw Dr. Nancy Glenn's post on AGU. It was calling for a scientist for their SnowEx Project, and they were also offering opportunity for another one. I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I spoke with her and also Josh Enterkine and Megan Catu. I think it was like back in last January or February of 2021. That's right. Sorry, time's like so crazy with COVID. Yeah, January 2021, virtually. Had a really great first meeting. Their project sounded awesome. They were talking about, Reynolds Creek and the Boise Mountains that were like right nearby with like a really cool study environment, experimental watershed. And I was just super stoked to like have the opportunity. So that was like the interview. And then Nancy emailed back like a few weeks later, a month later, pretty much like offering the position. So I jumped on it. I was like, oh, heck yes. So that's pretty much how I got here. And yeah, I'm just having a good time working on research now.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. Yeah, it's cool when those opportunities sort of come up out of nowhere and you kind of feel like things just fall into place when you find something that you're excited about and you're passionate about to do. And it's great to have people like advisors on board who are also excited about those projects.
Yeah, I feel like that's almost as important, if not more important,
Yeah.
is the advisor part. I mean, I feel like that definitely made my, back to my master's program with my past advisor, Dr. Alicia Kinoshita, who also on my dissertation committee now. Like, I feel like that really makes the experience so much better. And I could tell from just meeting her and having discussions, and she was really great, and she had my back from the very beginning with just job searching and or PhD searching. And yeah, I feel like I would argue that's slightly more important, but
Yeah. No, I agree. The support you get in grad school is vital, I think, to your success in grad school as a whole, for sure. And having a good supportive advisor really goes a long way to making your experience at grad school a lot more enjoyable. And I wouldn't say less stressful, but the stress is at least a lot more tolerable because you're having fun with your project rather than being stressed out about your social interactions with your advisor all the time.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And now,
what makes you you?
Cool. Well, we're excited to hear about your research, but before we jump into that, can you just give us a little background about you, Brent? What makes you you?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active. I like to stay active. Here in Boise, I've been doing a lot of biking, or trying to get into biking. I don't have a car here, so I pretty much bike everywhere. But it's really nice. The weather here is great. I coming from Southern California, I thought for sure that it was going to snow or rain more, but this is a high desert, I guess, and it doesn't rain too often, which is great. So biking's been awesome. When I can, I bike twice up to Lucky Peak Reservoir, Sandy Point. Which is just lovely. I really like that bike ride. I'm going to try and do that more often. It's like probably the max that I can bike. It's 11 miles there and 11 miles back. And I'm usually sore for like 2 days straight. So that's pretty much like the max of what I can do. I might try and build up from that, but we'll see.
That's pretty impressive. And I'm assuming that's going uphill most of the way up there. So
I've been talking to folks that have been biking to like Bogus Basin. I don't even know how they do that. Like there's a couple people in our department that can like bike. So I feel like Lucky Peak's pretty good. It's not easy. It's definitely hard for me. It's about my limit right now.
But if it makes you feel any better, I can't even bike up the hill to my house. So
biking's hard, man. I was actually the first month I got my bike. For the first week I got my bike, I got a flat tire on my front tire from a goat's head, which I guess are like super problematic in Boise. And I got that fixed right away. But first I had like a slow leak, I guess, on my back tire. So the first like month or 2 months, I was biking with a flat tire. And I thought I was just the slowest biker in the world. Everyone's like passing me, like totally just like blowing right by me. It turns out I had a slow leak, so I was like, oh my goodness. And as soon as I got that fixed, I was like flying by. It was like, I felt like Sonic. I was going so fast.
That always feels so great, though, when you get like new tires, new wheels, and then your bike just works so great. Like, wow, I didn't realize it was supposed to be like this.
yeah, I bet you got a good workout in that first month, though, for sure.
Oh, 100% for sure.
That's awesome. And it looks like you're also a little bit of a musical person. Looks like you were in choir and you played guitar in high school. Is that true?
That is true. I'm not good at either of those. But I do enjoy music. I like listening to others play music. I have some friends that like do a band here at Boise State. I love listening to them play. I like listening to music with people. Brian killed it. I don't know if anyone saw it at Tree Fort on the trombone. I was watching videos of Brian. Like it's so cool to like, yeah, dude, like that was
dude.
Awesome. So I love music. I can't play anything, but I appreciate it. Don't really have a favorite genre. I guess right now I'm kind of like into like jazz, some hip hop,
Nice.
chill music. I also like classical. I kind of just listen to a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah, you're very
A
eclectic.
lot of like classic rock. Classic rock's really good too.
Nice.
Totally.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, when we start up a band, which is, we've been talking about this for a year,
Yeah.
you will be part of that. And
Yeah,
I think you could be the perfect like hype man for it, to be honest.
yeah,
I can do that. Okay.
I agree. I'll play the triangle because I don't know how to play any other instruments now. So I think I could have one job where I just hit the triangle once. That will be great.
There we go. We got a solid crew. Brian on the trombone. We could recruit. I know that Thomas plays the piano. We could recruit Thomas to play some piano.
Yep.
Yeah, we got a big band.
We have a whole list. We could literally start a big band, jazz band if we wanted.
Sweet. So getting a little bit more into your research now, Brent, what made you interested in your field of study? Or how did you get into your field of study?
So getting to geoscience in general, I'll start there. And we can kind of work up to like snow science and hydrology and stuff. I was actually having a funny conversation with Scott, who was also on EpicEarth too, part of the geoscience department. For the listeners that don't know.
Here's an epic event for you.
But we were having a conversation. We're like, people who are geoscience is just a weird breed of people. Like they're like hippie conservationist sort of people, but like also really interested in like modeling and statistics and coding. Like, so I don't know. I guess like just part of that is like having that innate care for Earth, but also like super interested in like analytics and modeling and physical processes. So
Yeah.
I think that for sure, like it was a funny story that we were having, but I think that for sure wraps up kind of like my mindset for sure going into physical sciences. But growing up, I've always been interested in physical science. I was the kid who would go to the local library and check out like PBS and like NASA documentary VHS tapes, just rent them all because I found it all so fascinating, just learning all the information. Yeah, and I didn't really have a good idea of what I wanted to do growing up. Even in high school, I was like, maybe I'll be like a marine biologist or some kind of scientist. I landed on civil engineering. I was really interested in like the environmental aspect of it. I was really into still am into surfing in Southern California. One of the major problems in Southern California is stormwater runoff during first flush. So they get a lot of like hydrocarbons and bacteria from all of the runoff that's collected during the summer where there's like no rain in Southern California. It just gets a big dump. And so it's a huge problem because surfers and swimmers in like the Pacific Ocean in that area can develop like ear infections and nasty sicknesses, especially after large rainfalls. So I was like, okay, I want to do something like cool to like help with that. That was kind of like my thought process. And so that ended up being focused on civil engineering because a lot of their consulting and their city work, or especially in Southern California, is planning like green infrastructure and LID, which is low impact design for like stormwater basins and drainage swales, all these things. So that was really what I was interested in. So I did that. I also did some undergraduate research while I was at Cal Poly during my undergraduate. Did some consulting work. And then after I graduated, I did some more consulting work, and that was fun. I ended up wanting to go back to research though. I really missed it, I think. I think I missed the creativity. There we go. The creativity of like, I couldn't think of the word creativity. The creativity of like thinking of research questions that are like, applicable to like community needs and stakeholder needs, and then like going and implementing that research and answering those questions with like science and everything. So I was really interested in getting back to that. I ended up getting a really cool opportunity at San Diego State University with my previous advisor, Alicia Kinoshita. It collaborated with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection and California Geological Survey. And it was examining the post-fire effects to watershed hydrology, which a number of things happen. So there's increased rill erosion and sediment deposit, and decreased evapotranspiration, so that the plants are not transmitting as much water back to the atmosphere. And in general, you'll see that on the news a lot in Southern California, especially in Santa Barbara and the San Gabriels, is that you'll see a lot of these post-fire hyperconcentrated flows and debris flows that can really cause a havoc for local communities and ecosystems. And so a lot of effort is going into mapping these hazards, so risk hazard mapping and identifying how they can best manage these lands. And so that was kind of my focus in a nutshell for the master's, and it was epic. It was so much fun. I really enjoyed getting involved with local agencies. I thought that was really fulfilling, and I found great purpose in it. So like it made me really happy doing it. I thought that there was something that was going to help folks at CAL FIRE and CGS. And yeah, I just wanted to continue doing that. So like we talked about, I sent out a bunch of PhD applications pretty much everywhere. I think it was between a few different schools that I had offers for, but it was just the Boise State opportunity with Nancy just sounded too good to pass up on. And everything was just right. It was like the Goldilocks. Everything was just right. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love how, you've brought in some real world applications into what has inspired you to sort of gear towards the geosciences. I feel like, geosciences cover such a wide range of disciplines, and the way that we apply those disciplines is there are just thousands of different jobs and things that you can do with it. And I think that's what's so cool about our field is that it's just so versatile and you can just go anywhere with it. I find it really interesting as well. You talk about these post-wildfire debris flows and hyperconcentrated flows, which is actually very similar to volcanic mud flows that I study. There are a lot of similarities in terms of how ash sort of interacts and creates, impermeable surfaces where water can run off more. You get more rilling and erosion and things like that. So it's really cool to see how different sort of events sort of create very similar types of phenomenon. Different, but also the same. And it's cool to be able to collaborate with people on that. So maybe in the future, Brent, you and I can collaborate on a cool project together regarding debris flows.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. And I would be all for that. I remember we were actually having a conversation about rainfall intensity because I think we had this conversation at a seminar or something. And yeah, the importance of rainfall intensity was important for the lahar flows and also for post-fire debris flows, where that initiation of mass movement is really a factor of how much rain is coming at one time. And you were giving, for your study area in Guatemala, the rainfall intensity was something on the magnitude of I think it was 50 or 100 millimeters per hour. I was oh my gosh, if Southern California had that would be awful. That is so much rain. But yes, I think that would be a good idea, Ashley. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this is one of the things I always feel like is we always split our disciplines up into all these sub-disciplines and think about our research as these systems, but really the entire thing is one massive system that you can really tie all these things in together. And geosciences specifically, all of the disciplines are just puzzle pieces that fit into each other. One puzzle piece fits to the next and they all just connect like that. So I think that's why. And then in addition to that, civil engineering background, we've had law background people, everyone can come from physics, all these different backgrounds to end up into geoscience. And then from there, you can move into all these other fields as well. So Yeah, I was curious about your transition from like research to consulting and then back to research. Because that's something that I feel like I have never really considered doing. And you said something that when you were going back to research, it was the creative aspect of it that kind of brought you back. So what got you into consulting in the first place?
Yeah, I really did enjoy consulting. I did it for about, a year and a half combined with like internship and position, maybe year and a half, maybe 2 years. What drew me to consulting was really kind of back to like my main goal, is that it really aligned with what I was interested in doing at the time, which was improving green infrastructure and low impact development. Historically, for areas that just weren't really well planned out in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. So I remember talking to like one of my old bosses in consulting, is that there really isn't like, especially in well-developed areas like Southern California, there really isn't a lot of like new development. Like there certainly is, but like 75% of like work is like redevelopment to help improve existing infrastructure. So that's definitely what drew me to it, is just to help out the local community. I thought that was really cool. I think what drew me back to research, like we talked about, was the creativity of it. I feel like I was kind of getting like locked in a little box, which sounds really bad. It sounds worse than it is. I had a really great time, but you really do get like, depending on the position, there are a lot of different consulting jobs, but you really do get hyper focused on like one project or like one task that you will be doing for like a year. And that can get really tiresome. And so it's nice to be able to define like research objectives and define where you see yourself going in your program, and then really following your interests and following how it'll improve your next steps as a scientist. So like I kind of made the transition. Really going to AGU was kind of the defining moment for me. Like, oh yeah, I kind of starting to see myself as a scientist and less as an engineer. And getting feedback from like a bunch of professors and scientists at AGU, and just seeing everyone's talks. And that's when it really clicked for me. I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this as a career. This is awesome.
Yeah. That's so awesome.
I recommend everyone go to AGU if they can. Like that is 1 in a million opportunity. It is amazing.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned that, because AGU is just like one of those, it's so inspiring when you show up there, and like it gets you thinking like, I could do this. Like these are my people, like things are going well. Do you feel like your experience in consulting is going to help you with your research moving forward? Or not?
Yeah, I would say maybe not like the technical aspects of it anymore. Because I mean, like in consulting, I was doing a lot of like grading, not like homework grading, but like grading of like earth and like quantities.
Yeah.
So I'm not really doing like, grading in any of this work, but in particular, like a lot of the professional skills that I pulled away from it, I feel like that's something that I really try and incorporate in my research. So time management, how I interact with colleagues and coworkers, and how I go about pursuing projects, how I go about setting up meetings with Nancy, my advisor. So I guess just the professional nature, I think that definitely helped me with going through consulting, because it is very, very rigid, So I think that having that background certainly has helped me in some aspects with kind of just navigate. And I feel like that's, I feel like that's kind of helped my research.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say those are, we shouldn't discredit those skills either. I think they're very important and valid skills to bring with you into any field, really. But yeah, definitely don't demean those skills, because they are very, they'll get you far.
Thanks, Ashley.
Yeah. So Brent, we're excited to hear about what you're actually researching right now. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Nancy and the SnowEx group?
Yeah, so the research is really exciting. I've been having a great time this first year. It's kind of split into 3 parts, but it's all kind of interwoven. But currently working on using a combination of aerial LiDAR or airborne LiDAR, field-based hyperspectral sensing, and also using process-based snow melt modeling to examine the impacts of wildfire and climate change, and to improve our prediction skills of snowpack, with like the end goal of like improving our water supply management for ecosystems and communities. And so this first year, I spent a lot of time in the snow this winter, which was awesome. I was using something called an analytical spectro radiometer device, Field Spec 4. I just call it the ASD for short. It's essentially about like a third of a meter by a third of a meter square that I put on my backpack, or put on my back. It's held in a backpack. And it's a passive sensor that essentially works like a camera, except it takes in all of the wavelengths, not just RGB or what the human eye can see. So the human eye can see like 300 to 700 nanometers, give or take. This sensor can read, it's very precise, so it's every 1 nanometer, and it reads from 350 nanometers to 2,500 nanometers. Wow. And so this gives us a really good idea of the reflectance that snow is getting back, which is it's crucial for modeling and understanding snow, because snow naturally is very reflective and helps keep it cool. And so being able to quantify this is important for the net radiation budget and understanding snowmelt. And with climate change and the increased amount of wildfire and black carbon and anthropogenic deposition onto the surface, like we're seeing like in in Greenland from just fallout from CO2 and all of those different things, they really have an effect on it's what it's called as the albedo. Albedo is defined as the amount of energy being reflected divided by the amount of energy being transmitted. Mm-hmm. And so typically snow albedo is quite high, especially for fresh snow. So albedo measurements or albedo values for fresh snow are typically like 0.9, 0.8. But like soil, soot, black carbon, brown carbon, a lot of these different, a lot of the literature calls it light absorbing particles or light absorbing constituents. I might have seen that once too. But they really do have an effect on lowering the albedo, and that will increase the amount of radiation that's transmitted to the snowpack and increase melting. And so having this ASD, what I'm primarily focused on right now is measuring. I was out in the field at Idaho City, actually locally. There's a football field, Idaho City football field, which is, I think it's like their K through 12 school. It's a really small community there. So I think it's just like the whole school. It's like the whole K through 12. But the principal there, I guess, is really cool and was like, oh yeah, we are super fans of Boise State's research. So totally fine with you guys coming on down with Boise State, coming on down and doing some research. So there was good snow on conditions for most of the winter. And it was nice because it was a flat field, relatively homogeneous conditions. And I was able to compare this reflectance data that we were getting with this satellite, which we were able to request. It's an Italian satellite called Prisma, which is an Italian acronym, but it pretty much stands for the preliminary mission, or the preliminary hyperspectral mission, which is, I think code for there is a hyperspectral mission plan from NASA JPL in like 2028 or 2030 that will also collect hyperspectral data, which is it's really really cool to see, because we do have lots of cool sensors in space. I think this would be the first, or Prisma that we're using is the first hyperspectral sensor in space. And so we're comparing that data to the Prisma satellite data with the idea of better constraining snow measurements on like a larger scale. So scaling up these sort of analysis.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool. It sounds like you use a lot of different sort of methods as well. So not only using like this remote sensing where you're using the aerial LiDAR and the hyperspectral from the satellites, but also using these ground penetrating sensors as well, which is really cool.
So how much does that ASD backpack weigh?
I'm not sure. It is pretty heavy.
Like car battery heavy? Like you're working up a sweat while you're out there?
No, not car battery heavy. Also, I'm in the snow, which is nice. So that kind of keeps you modulated a little bit.
Yeah.
I would say like less than 10 pounds.
Okay.
It's not super heavy. It's manageable. What's kind of tricky is the cable, because the sensor is like completely exposed. So you have to be like really careful about it. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, but I'm sure that goes with any kind of equipment. It's all expensive.
Yeah, although we're trying to develop like less expensive equipment, so if we do lose stuff, we're like, it sucks to lose the data, but it's like you kind of don't care as much if you lose a sensor. If you've built it and it only costs a couple $100 compared to some of these commercial instruments, which cost upwards of 20 or 30 or more $1,000. So yeah.
And the advantage of building it yourself is it's easy to maintain. So we actually have to send it back to the manufacturer this summer for some adjustments. And they're, I think, in the UK. So that's going to be a journey trying to get that back.
Oh my God. Yeah. Fuck.
Thanks.
Cool. So what is the best or most fun thing about what you do right now, Brent?
I would say just the day-to-day variations in what I'm doing. So sometimes I'm doing the ASD out in the field. Other times I've been doing some snow melt modeling using this really cool model called SnowPalm, which was developed by folks at University of Arizona. It's like the super high resolution physics-based modeling that I've been working on, which incorporates effects from canopy cover. So that's really, really interesting and fun. Yesterday I flew in a helicopter. That was really fun. I was
is that your first time in a helicopter?
That was my first time. It was.
Oh my God.
I was so nervous. I was really nervous. Like I didn't have much breakfast. I couldn't really eat. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying. But the pilot was like super cool. I was talking to Josh, our lab manager, and Karina, another graduate student, and they were really confident and chill about it. And the flight ended up being like very calm. I don't know why I was so nervous, but oh my goodness, it was beautiful. Like you could see like all of the snow, and what was really cool is you could see the dust storm that we just had, or the windstorm that we had like last week. And you could see all of the streaks of dust like all over the snow, which was really, really cool to see those spatial patterns. Like we were about 600 or 700 meters or 2,300 feet AGL or above ground level. So we were pretty close to the surface. We had a good like bird's eye view. Oh my goodness, it was amazing.
Wow. That is awesome.
Also, I've been having a lot of fun this semester with the different research groups. So we've had a lot of cool group meetings and also just fun gatherings with BCal and SARS. Shout out BCal and SARS. You guys are awesome. It's been a really fun first year.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you're having so much fun. It's so important. And to be in a helicopter. That's super fun. I always find that the training videos for helicopters is way more morbid than your actual experience in the helicopter. Like they just give you like the worst stories in the world about helicopters. So you're like,
Oh
freaked
gosh.
out.
I'm so glad I didn't watch that.
Yeah, no, I had to do it when I volunteered for the volcanic observatory, and yeah, it was like kind of the most morbid like video, but the experience of flying in a helicopter was amazing.
I would have been like, hey, Karina, I actually can't make it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I just keep hearing about all these like horror stories with helicopters. I think flying in helicopters is so much fun though. Like,
Oh, it was so much fun. Shout out Silverhawk Academy and Ricky. Oh my goodness. That was, he made everything so smooth and like very, like, 'cause I was very nervous. I was like almost shaking. Maybe because I drank a little bit too much coffee that morning, but I was a little shaky. But yeah, they did an excellent job. It was so much fun.
That's awesome. Brian, have you ever been in a helicopter?
No, I've never actually. I'm the only one, I guess, that hasn't yet. But I was gonna say we could just skip that. We can all go skydiving next if you're all down.
Oh God, no! I'd rather get in a helicopter than go skydiving.
Yeah, I think I'll stay strapped to the seatbelt. I like the seatbelt. I don't know if I could.
Brian just goes straight for the extremes. He's like, whatever, helicopter.
Skydiving.
Yeah.
We jumped out of the helicopter.
Exactly.
So I actually have a question, Brent, based off of what you saw. Is there concern about those sediments that are now on top of the snowpack as being that sort of, you said like those soils absorb more. So is there concern that actually melting will happen a lot quicker on that snow melt or that snowpack now that those lake sediments have been blown onto it?
Yes, that is a great observation, actually. There's quite a bit of research recently being done by folks like Mackenzie Skiles at University of Utah that are studying, I had mentioned things like soot and debris from wildfire, but also windblown dust from human impacts is also a really big concern for radiative forcing for snowpack. And I haven't read too much into it, but I assume that with more variable weather conditions, possibly more intense or more variable like wind vectors, possibly more landscape degradation or landscape change, that sediment can have a big impact, especially these higher elevations where I can confirm there was a ton of dust yesterday, even though the elevations that we were surveying in the helicopter, I think it's like close to 2,000 meters, 2,000 meters above sea level. So it's pretty high elevation. It's up there, but the dust can still climb up there from the windstorm. So definitely, yeah, it's a great observation. It's something that I haven't read too much into, but definitely something I'm interested in. We'll probably be looking into for my work.
Yeah, well, it seems like a lot of it ended up on everyone's car. So, I'm more concerned about my metal being stripped off, but just kidding. I'm actually really about the snowpack. It's been a horrible year for snowpack, I think, here in Idaho. So it is a bit concerning, but yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird year. Talking to HP about it too, HP Marshall, one of the faculty of the geoscience department, he was commenting on how like strange a year it was because I think he was mentioning November, December had one of like the highest snow totals, not the highest, like one of the highest snow totals on record for the Boise area. And then there was just like no snow all of February. That was like, if you look at the like the snowtail graphs, it's just like a flat line. And I was reading something on the National Weather Service forecast for Boise that for this February for the airport at Boise, it was the second driest February on record since like 1800 or something, where I think like less than like point something inches of rainfall or precipitation fell at the airport. I was like, oh my goodness, that is so dry.
Yeah, I think I heard that on the news too or something. I heard them say that. And yeah, it's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, so it just goes back to we need to be able to model what little snowpack we do have. Because, climate change can be a depressing talk. I went to some community talks from the city of Boise. They teamed up with this collaboration with NASA where they were reaching out to folks, the community members and scientists, and they were having little weekly seminars on like communicating climate change with the public. And a lot of focus was on being like, there's a lot of negative aspects for sure. It can deter a lot of the general public away from it.
Yeah.
And so I think like kind of a way to think about this too, like where we was talking about, like the snowpack looks really abysmal, but maybe something we can come as scientists and like water resources managers is to better identify how we can better quantify the snowpack we do have, so we can better do better water budgets. And it's still negative, right? 'Cause it's still climate change, but it's like kind of rolling with the punches. I don't know if that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it's like an adaptation to what's happening with our watersheds, and and it's important in states like Idaho too, where you have a large agricultural base and you have a lot of farmer wells and appropriation and grandfathered, and like all the water use that gets appropriated to certain people or to certain farms or certain areas. So the work you do is so valuable, and the research that you're doing is so awesome, and you're just going to contribute big things to the field. So we're excited to see what you come up with in the future.
Thank you, Ashley. I'll try my best. Thank you.
Serious question.
So I'm going to jump into a more serious question now, Brent. We like to ask, we love your research, but, we need to ask some real serious questions. So the first serious question I have for you is, if you lived on Venus, what sort of scientific problem would you try to solve?
Oh my goodness. So that's an interesting one. There's actually for Venus, it's an interesting planet because there's so little we don't know too much about it. There was I think like a Russian or USSR probe that landed on there for like 5 seconds and then it died. That saw the surface for a split second, but it's tons of pressure, super hot. With all of the pressure and heat, something interesting that happens on the surface is there is snow on Venus, but it's not the snow that we have on Earth, which I think is kind of interesting. It actually melts. I think like it's also not super well known. I think it's some kind of lead or some sort of metal that essentially gets evaporated at these lower elevations on Venus and then precipitates as like a reflective material at higher elevations. It's like this like sulfur metal. Like I think that's super fascinating. If I was like a planetary scientist, like that's probably where I'd be. I'd be studying something like that. That is.
Well, you know what they say: don't eat the sulfur metal snow. So.
That's true. It is yellow. So.
That's good.
That was a good one, Brian. Well done.
Thanks.
That's super awesome. My mind is blown. I love when people know all these interesting facts about like extraterrestrial bodies, like in our solar system or further abroad. It's like, it's just stuff you would never, ever think of, but it's so cool to hear about. So
PBS documentaries are great. You can learn a lot of.
That's true. So Brent, as you're aware, we have this little segment where we ask you to describe your research to 3 different groups of people. Just to give you some practice in, your elevator pitch and how you would deal with 3 different levels of understanding. So the first group we're going to ask you to explain your research to is an elementary group, so 4th or 5th grade. How would you talk to them about what it is that you do?
5th grader.
So I actually had a perfect opportunity because I did talk to some 5th graders last week. So hopefully this goes well. So for my for my research, I would say every year, hundreds of millions of people around the globe rely on seasonal snowmelt for their fresh water. Natural disasters such as wildfire can dramatically change the landscape, thereby changing the amount of water we will receive from snowmelt. My research is focused on better understanding the impact that these wildfires will have on our snowpack in order to better manage our water supply.
Perfect. I think a fourth or fifth grader could definitely get that. They're probably really interested in wildfires and and then how your research ties into it. Very cool.
It was really interesting. Just to add, I know this kind of just to add to this. The day that we were out there with the fifth graders, it was on that Idaho City football field, like I was mentioning. And they were getting the field ready for baseball. And so they put some natural fertilizer on half the side of the field. And so you can imagine like half the side was white and half the side was black or brown. And so that made the perfect opportunity to be like, what happened on that side of the field, right?
Yeah.
The side had already melted. So they all got it. They all got like what snow albedo was right there too. So that was really awesome. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, teachable moment. Awesome. Okay, so now we're going to move up a little bit. How would you describe your research to an undergraduate student or like a high schooler, like someone who kind of knows what you're talking about, but is outside of your area of expertise?
Undergrad.
Okay, yeah. So every year, approximately 1.2 billion people around the globe rely on seasonal snowmelt for their fresh water. The combination of climate warming, anthropogenic activity, and historic fire suppression have led to significant fire seasons in the Western United States over the past few decades, especially at higher elevations. My research is focused on using field-based measurements, remote sensing, and physics-based modeling to better quantify the impact of wildfire and climate change on snowmelt in order to better manage our water supply.
Nice. Yeah, I think stick it to them, make them realize how dire things are in the United States and around the world. I like how you use like the stats. Like you talk about 1.2 billion people rely on fresh water supply. That's insane.
I'm kind of in between. I feel like I would also say that the fifth graders too, because I feel like that's a better. I think I said hundreds of millions. I think I would also say that for fifth graders too. I'd say 1.2 billion because I think that helps the scale of it. Because like you think of like, oh, it's important like the Western United States, which it is, but it's also important like around the globe, and there's a ton of people. So I think the billion, I think, kind of does put a good scale on it.
Oh, for sure. And it's our biggest reservoir of water in Idaho, right? Is snowpack. From what I've heard, it's the largest, reservoir of water. So I think people don't think about that. They think of aquifers and things like that as being these large reservoirs.
I heard it's like the water towers of the West.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good term for it. Okay. And your last challenge is, how would you describe your research to a professional at a conference?
Expert.
Okay, so every year, approximately 1.2 billion people around the globe rely on seasonal snowmelt for their fresh water. A combination of climate warming, anthropogenic activity, and historic fire suppression have led to significant fire seasons in the Western United States over the past few decades, especially at higher elevations where mean fire elevation has increased by approximately 200 meters in elevations over the last 3 decades. My research is focused on using field-based methods such as hyperspectral imager to quantify snow albedo and reflectivity in different areas of disturbance, aerial LiDAR data to quantify snowpack depth, and snowmelt physics-based snowmelt modeling to better quantify the impact of wildfires and climate change on snowmelt in order to better manage our water supply.
Oh, good job. That was awesome.
Thanks.
So we're going to finish up with maybe one more serious question, Brent.
Okay.
Serious question.
So you're a new addition to the crayon box. What color would you be and why?
Yeah, there's so many colors to choose from.
You can make up a color too. You can just be like,
I've been really into like, so I'm always really into a lot of colors. I like data visualization. I like testing out a bunch of different colors. I've really been into sage green lately. I really like that color. So I don't know if there's a crayon that's sage green.
Yeah. I don't know, but that sounds like a perfect crayon color for you. That, or I was going to say like hyperspectral, like hue or something, where you're just a rainbow of colors. And red and UV. Oh, that's awesome. Brian, what color would you be?
So the last time I picked like some kind of ramen color, I think it just depends on how my stomach's feeling. So
Yeah.
today I'm gonna go with like a black tea kind of color. So
Whoa.
let's go.
Are you okay?
I don't know, just some tea just sounds good. I'm drinking some tea.
Oh,
right
okay.
now, like-
Okay. You said black. I just wanted to make sure the mood was all right. So.
Yeah, no.
Maybe that's why I picked sage green. I'm drinking some green tea right now.
That's what I'm
Maybe
saying.
I think Brian and I are the same way. I got some nice what was it? Oh yeah, mint mountain green tea or something. It's very good.
Yeah, I could see that as a Crayola color. Mint mountain green tea.
I have water, so I guess I would be like wacky white water or something. Kind of goes along with.
I love it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, Brent, this has been such a great interview. We are so grateful for you coming on and joining us and telling us all about your awesome research. We hope, you guys figure out all the problems with snowpack and fix it. Just kidding. But we're so excited to hear about your research and what comes out of it in the future. And yeah, thanks for being a big fan and, promoting our podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I can't wait to see you guys around the department.
Yeah, I know. You need to come up to the 4th floor more. I think that needs to happen. So
I think I haven't seen you guys in a while because my seminar, I've been remote on seminar because I have a class during that time, but I miss you guys.
oh,
See you next
we
semester.
miss you. Thanks so much, Brent.
Do you have anyone that you want to shout out before we end this?
Oh yeah, shout out BCal, SARS, my family, mom, dad, Emma. You guys are awesome. Miss you guys.
Sweet.
All right, Brent. We'll see you around.
Bye.
See ya.
Well, that was an epic conversation.
We'd like to thank all of our listeners.
Tune in next time for another Epic Earth podcast.
I really struggled with this question. I don't know why. Sorry, can we redo this one? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Let me get this right. Yeah. This made sense when I was writing it, but now it does not make sense. And now I can't say it out loud. I think this is too oddly specific too. I'm way too oddly specific. Oh,
Yeah.
That's so hard.
I don't think we're over time yet.
Yeah,
'Cause
you're
I'm gonna
good.
cut a lot of this out. I think so. Not like a ton of it, but
Rivers are flowing in constant motion down from the mountains into the ocean. River gets faster, wider, deeper. The profile is more flat, not steeper.
Oh, Brian, you're muted.
Oh,
I am muted. Okay.
Cool. Oh, he left.
Oh, he really left.